Hello, my name is Brian Schmidt. I am 4 weeks post-op rotator cuff surgery, and I just need to share with you what I learned about pre-surgery week 1 and week 2. So please stay tuned. I really have some good information for you. Um, my situation is that I'm a phys ed teacher. So I have a 90% tear in my supraspinatus, and I was getting by. I hurt it at hockey with a bad fall. I can do my job, but I couldn't do it as well as I wanted to. I could be active, but it would hurt. So I was not in a debilitating situation, but I really feel like I needed to, going forward, take care of this. So I got online for surgery, and I had the surgery done. They put anchors into my humerus. I'm sure you can look on YouTube and see all the procedures like I did, and they reattached my supraspinatus. So I'm in the process of healing. Like I said, I'm in week 4, but I want to talk to you about pre 1 and 2. So pre is big, and in a way that you can do a lot. And I feel like I did pretty well with that, and I'd like to help you with that. One thing you need to do is take care of yourself. And so a couple of months before, I was knew it was coming up, obviously. So I said it's time to really ramp up my activity. I wanted to make sure I was healthy and feeling good before I was about to feel bad. So I made sure my cardio was good. I did some biking. I did lots of big movement activities. I even did some shoulder activity and upper body stuff that I could. I did a lot of band work. And of course, on my bad side, on my left side here, it was uncomfortable and painful, but I kind of found the movements that I could still do so that I could have some strength in those muscles so they weren't so atrophied and small, because I knew that everything was going to get really weak, once I had the surgery. So I really wanted to take care of myself. So I took care of myself physically. I took care of myself with nutrition. I made sure I was eating well, sleeping well, not drinking too much. So you want to feel good, right, going in there. So I really did that. So I would highly recommend doing that. I feel like that really helped me, especially in the first week, just knowing that I'd been so healthy leading up to it, that now I was sitting around doing absolutely nothing, and I felt like it wasn't affecting my body as much. There's also some things you can take care of as well, like around your house and things in your life. Like for me and you too, there's things that require two hands, and you can't even think about doing anything serious for a while, and even with the one good hand, because you're uncomfortable, you're in pain. But so little things like for instance, things around the house that need two hands to fix, or things like I had to do my water softener, I changed my air filters, I did some car stuff. So anything where you need two hands, get it all out of the way. Okay? Get that done. That's going to make it easier on your family, if you are in a family, or easier on the people around you, because you're pretty useless for a while after the surgery. So make yourself really useful before, if you can, if you're in that situation. Another thing I did was I made some purchases. So number one, this is a great purchase, is a mesh sling for the shower. I did that like last minute. Here I am thinking I'm all prepared, and I was talking to a friend who had the surgery, and he said, "Do you have your mesh sling yet?" And I said, "No." So I ran out and got one. But if you're thinking ahead of time, just go to Amazon and buy a sling. It's maybe 15, 20, 25 bucks. And it makes a big difference in the shower, because you want to feel comfortable in there. You're very, very tentative, very nervous those first few days. And on day 3, I don't want to get into my week 1 yet. This is still pre, but on day 3 for me, my doctor said I could take a shower. And so the sling was on, and that made it a lot easier. And I've been using the sling ever since. So it's a great purchase. So highly recommended. Another thing is a must-have is something to do with ice or cooling. So I was lucky enough that my insurance covers a cryo cuff, and you can look up that exactly what it is. But basically, it's a like a little mini cooler that pumps really hyper cold water through a tube that's on your shoulder, and a device that's on your shoulder. So you mix it ice and water together, and that's a must-have, or a really good system of a bunch of ice packs that you can be putting on and off all the time. So please check with your insurance. That's just makes a big difference in comfort. I also went out and got some loose fitting clothing, and this was a big one. I didn't really want to and didn't even really think about it, but my wife did it. She didn't even tell me, and thank God she did, because you can't move and get into shirts and stuff. It's really really hard initially. As you go along and you get into the later weeks, you figure out how to do this stuff, but initially when you're in that acute phase of pain and uncomfortableness and not wanting to ruin the surgery and move your arm, it's really really nice to have a big loose fitting t-shirt to get in with a big neck hole, and a big huge hoodie that you can put on one arm and then just have the other part just hanging over on the side. So I highly recommend that, and thanks to my big shout out to my wife for that, because that was just fantastic. And I couldn't imagine getting through that first week to 10 days without this like really loose fitting clothing. Another thing you need to think about pre-op is your area. So this is where I've been living. It's my recliner chair. I have all my pillows off to the side. I have everything off to your left. My right is my good side. I have all my things that I need to grab. So have a nice area all set up and ready. You don't want to be worried about that when you come home from the operation. So that's a good thing to do. And I went out to the pharmacy. I made sure I had lots of stool softener, because with the narcotics you're going to be taking, that's kind of a crappy situation, pun intended. So please make sure you have stool softener to keep your plumbing moving. It's important. And the last thing you want is to be feeling that feeling while you're also having tons of pain and uncomfortable feelings in your shoulder. Another thing I grabbed was this handy dandy little back scratcher. You're in this thing 24/7. It's tight. It's squeezing your body. There's little Velcro parts that are rubbing into you and making you itchy. So it's nice to have that back scratcher to get those little areas. And it seems like a silly thing, but I'm really really happy that I had one, and I didn't realize I needed it. So go grab it. I was lucky enough I had one around, and within day 2 I went and grabbed it. So that's your pre-op. There's some other things out there you got to think about, obviously. Making sure all your affairs are in order and everything's good, and things with work and stuff like that. But for me, those were the main things that I thought would be helpful for you. Now we get to the surgery day, and it comes all of a sudden. It's there, and it was so far in the future, and then all of a sudden it's there, and you're scared, you're nervous. It's totally normal. Hopefully you have a great team. I had a great. The nurses were great. I ended up knowing one of the nurses' husbands, and it was a great experience for me at the hospital. The doctors were great, the nurses were great, and hopefully you have that too. And they're pros. They know how to deal with people like us that are nervous about getting something done to the body. And they also give you some drugs to help relax you, and that always really helped. So I also got a nerve block, so that was to numb the whole area. And they filled me in on all that, and I knew I was getting that beforehand, and it really really helps with day 1. And in fact, you go into surgery, you have the surgery, you wake up, and with my other surgeries I had an ACL surgery a couple of years ago, and I've had a discectomy, which is surgery on a herniated disc. I've had those surgeries. I had that surgery 10 years ago. You feel really groggy and stuff when you wake up, but with this you don't feel groggy, because they don't give you a deep sleep medication. They give you a lighter sleep medication, because of the nerve block is doing the work. And so when you wake up, you feel surprisingly refreshed and fine, and you have your sling on and you have all your bandages around your shoulder, but you're feeling okay, and it's surprising. And then you get picked up, and so for me, my wife picked me up, and she's like, "You look great, like everything's okay." And you get this false sense of this is really easy, but it's not, because it's about to change, and it changes pretty quickly. So you can talk to everyone. People are around. People are calling you, how the surgery, and everyone's like, "Oh, you sound great. Everything's good," and they think this is really easy. But the first night it changes, and it changes hard. And middle of the night, my first night, just the tingling in the hands comes back, and then the numb feeling kind of dissipates up your arm, slowly creeps up. Pain in your elbow, pain in your shoulder, and it starts. The one big recommendation I would have is to start your drugs before the pain, and I did that, but it's still painful, of course. I'm sure it would have been a lot more painful had I not started the drugs. So please do that. So now you wake up. We're into day one. Yeah. So it's the first week, and I'll tell you about my big mistake in the first week, and hopefully you don't make it. Is I'm just such a person. I want to go. I want to get better. I want to do things, and I did too much. I was walking around too much. I was taking my arm out of the sling to do the pendulum swings like too much. I was thinking I got to get better, but when I look back on it now, where I am at 4 weeks, I'm realizing that was a mistake, because first off, it caused pain. Secondly, there's nothing to do. Your body's in shock. It's just healing from this surgery. And what I'm doing is not really making it better at that point. There's a long road ahead where I can work really hard and do things in physio and strengthening things, where I can work really hard and prove that I'm this great guy who's going to get really better really fast. But to go and do that right away was a mistake. So learn from my mistake. Just take it easy. Just take it easy. Let the body recuperate. Let the body recover. Control your pain. Rest and relax. Okay, so learn from my mistake. We get into week 2. So week one's tough. You're in pain. It's uncomfortable. It's hard to sleep. You can't sleep, basically, even through week 2. So you get into week 2, and you're in a better spot though, because mentally you're like, week 1's done. For me, I'm going to be in this for 6 weeks, and then hopefully the surgeon says you're ready to go with it off and do some range of motion stuff. But you have this psychological barrier of week 1 is down, so you feel good, and you start looking ahead. But you're still in a heap of trouble. There's still a lot of pain. There's still a lot of things going on. But I have to say, I did get into a routine, and you can kind of feel more comfortable in the day. I would enjoy my coffee in the morning, my tea in the afternoon. I would be eating healthy, trying to eat really, really healthy. Oatmeal in the morning, make sure my plumbing is good there, and healthy snacks. I didn't want to get into a situation where I'm eating potato chips or candies. So learn from me there. Eat healthy. You just feel better. And it's going to help having the proper nutrition in your body, a balanced diet, fruits and vegetables, your proper vitamins. It's going to help heal that area that's been traumatized with the surgery. And it's going to help your ligament heal back onto the bone. So I was really big on getting into a routine, eating well, doing well. I even reached out to my doctor and said, I want to start moving. I want to start moving more, like going for big long walks. And he said, no, just relax. So again, I was trying to do too much, but I just relaxed and just took it easy. So please do that. The one big thing that I started doing in week 2 that I'd like to share with you is focusing on mindfulness. So I decided to just take advantage of this time that I had to relax, think positively, meditate, think about what's happening in my shoulder, and just picturing it healing, picturing it getting better, staying positive, thinking about the future, how it's going to be stronger, how it's going to be better. So I really tried to do that. I did some deep breathing, try and relax, try and help with the pain. So I just tried to stay super, super positive and mindful and present, and not focusing on how uncomfortable it was. So if you're in that week 2 right now, and even week 1, and it's painful, it's uncomfortable, just try and breathe. So in this chair that I'm in here at night, the pain always seems to come at night, and it's very uncomfortable. And the farther back I went, the more painful it was. And when you want to sleep, you want to lay back, but you can't with the shoulder surgery. So I would find this sweet spot by leaning forward, using pillows around me to find an area where I wasn't in pain. But at times I would still be in pain, so I would just breathe, deep breaths, comfortable breaths, and try and just kind of meditate and think about positive things. It's really hard. I'm not saying it's easy. It's really hard, but I have to say that it did help me get through those first couple of weeks. The first couple of weeks are tough, okay? But you got it. You got to just stay strong, and you got to stay positive. You will have nights when you're just sitting there looking into the darkness. I had nights where I just sat looking into the darkness saying I cannot feel comfortable with this pain. In the days, much better, especially week 2. I just started reading more, and again on that whole mindfulness theme, I didn't want to just let 6 weeks go by and find out that I watched 18,000 hours of Netflix. I wanted to read and keep my mind going, keep my mental side going. So I'd highly recommend that to you as well. So that's my big pointer to you. So a couple mistakes I made: moving too much, and another mistake was coming down on the drugs. So I tried to cut back on the drugs too much, and it didn't work. My body was in too much pain. So I was thinking, I got to get off these drugs. Drugs are bad. Drugs are bad. Well, no, when drugs are needed, they're needed. And when you have shoulder surgery, it's very painful. You need the drugs. So as I look back, now that I'm at 4 weeks and I'm looking back, what was I thinking trying to cut back on the drugs? Just take the drugs. Let your body get comfortable. So 2 mistakes: moving too much, cutting back on the drugs. So please don't make those same mistakes. And then my big pointer is mindfulness. Please, accept what's going on. Think of the positive, think of the future, and stay present in your present moment. It's really going to help you through this. So I just wanted to finish off by saying I'd love to do another video of weeks 3 and 4, because they were completely different, and I made more mistakes, little mistakes, and also learned a lot in this journey. So stand by for another video on weeks 3 and 4. Thank you very much. And if you are in the middle of this, stay strong. You got this.